The story begins in a small town in Sicily during World War II. A young teenager named Renato Amoroso lives with his parents and older sister. He is an ordinary boy who spends time with friends, rides a bicycle and dreams of adventure. Everything changes when Malena appears in his life. Malena Scordia is a name that soon becomes on the lips of everyone in the town. She comes to town with her husband Nino, who soon goes to the front, leaving her alone. Malena is incredibly beautiful, and her appearance causes a wave of admiration and envy. Men cannot take their eyes off her, and women begin to hate her for her beauty. Renato notices Malena when she first walks down the street. She becomes for him the epitome of the ideal, and his youthful heart is instantly captivated by her image. From that moment on, his life changes. He begins to follow her everywhere, trying to learn as much as he can about her. Renato watches Malena walk the streets of the city, catching glances from men and hearing angry whispers from women. Every step she takes becomes an event, every little thing a cause for rumor and speculation. The women envy her beauty and fear that she will destroy their families and steal their husbands. Malena, left without the support of her husband, is forced to endure all these attacks alone. Life in a small town, where everyone knows everything about each other, becomes a real test for her. She begins to be haunted by rumors of infidelity, although she always tries to keep herself dignified. Renato sees how unfairly she is accused, and this makes him want to defend her. However, his dreams of heroism remain mere fantasies. He is too young to really intervene and make a difference. In his head, he creates images where he saves Malena from evil tongues and aggression, but in life he remains only an observer. Meanwhile, the war brings more and more difficulties. The town is going through difficult times and people are becoming more embittered and suspicious. This is reflected in the relationship with Malena. Every action she takes is interpreted in the worst possible light. Renato feels anger and powerlessness as he watches this. The situation worsens when Malena's father is killed in a bombing raid. She is left all alone and her situation becomes even more vulnerable. The town begins to talk openly about her relationship with various men, although there is no evidence of this. All this leads to her being summoned to court, accused of immorality. The trial becomes a real farce. Everyone is sure of her guilt beforehand, and she is not given a chance to defend herself. Malena loses the trial, and it finally destroys her reputation. Now she is an outcast with no means of livelihood, and she has to find ways to survive. Gradually she begins to accept offers from men, which further undermines her position in society. She becomes the object of ridicule and insults, and her life becomes a struggle for survival. Renato, despite his powerlessness, continues to watch her, feeling not only admiration but also deep sympathy for her. He realizes that Malena is a victim of the cruelty and injustice of a society that cannot accept her uniqueness. This realization leaves a deep mark on his soul. He sees how people who are unhappy themselves try to make those who are different from them even more unhappy. For Renato, Malena remains a symbol of resilience and strength, despite all the trials she goes through. With the end of the war, Nino, Malena's husband, returns to town. He finds his wife in a deplorable state, but despite all the rumors and accusations, he accepts her. Together they decide to leave the city that has brought so much suffering. They leave to start a new life away from prejudice and hatred. Renato watches them leave and feels a mixture of relief and sadness. He realizes that he will never see Malena again, but is happy that she will finally be able to free herself from the things that have surrounded her here. This story stays with him forever as a reminder of how societal prejudice and envy can destroy a person's life. This movie is not only a story about beauty and its destructive power, but also a story about growing up. Renato, through his observations of Malena's life, learns to understand the complexity of human nature and the injustice and cruelty that can manifest itself in people. He sees how fear and envy can drive people to do evil, and how important it is to maintain humanity and compassion. Malena, despite all the hardships she goes through, remains a symbol of resilience and inner beauty. Her story is a reminder of how important it is not to lose oneself, despite all the challenges that life presents. Renato always remembers this lesson, which becomes part of his growing up and shaping him as a person. The movie leaves behind many reflections on the importance of being kinder to each other and trying to understand those who are different from us. Malena becomes a symbol of sacrifice and resilience, and her story a reminder of the need to maintain humanity even in the most difficult circumstances.